Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting to order, Marin Local Agency Formation Commission for February 12th, 2026, and the time is 6:35. Just to note, we have two commissioners who are participating remotely tonight under the Just Cause reason, and we have Commissioner Kohler and Commissioner Chu doing this meeting by Zoom tonight. I just want to recognize that, and we will be doing roll call votes for everything tonight. So could we first have the roll call, please?
Chair Kohler,
Here, and I don't have anyone over 18 in the room with me. Thank you.
Vice Chair Rodoni,
Here.
Commissioner Caius, Commissioner Lucan,
Here.
Commissioner Murray,
Here.
Commissioner Bordeaux,
Here.
Commissioner Chu,
Here, and I'm by myself in the room.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Alternate Commissioner Hilliard,
Here.
Alternate Commissioner Farrak, Alternate Commissioner Moulton Peters, Alternate Commissioner Smith.
All right, thank you. We have a quorum and we can do business tonight.
And just for the record, since Commissioner Caius isn't here, Commissioner Hilliard will be voting until he arrives.
Thank you.
And if I can just add also for the record, Chair, is that the two commissioners who are participating remotely are participating under Just Cause for medical purposes.
Thank you. So we're going to go to the next item, which is agenda review. Does anyone need anything rearranged or pull from the agenda? Seeing no one, anyone online? Looking good. So we'll move to the next item then, which is a public open time. This is a portion of the meeting reserved for persons desiring to address the commission on matters not on the current agenda. So anyone that wants to speak to the commission on an item not on our agenda tonight, this is the time. Anyone online?
We have no one online raising their hand.
Anyone in the room tonight?
We have no speaker cards.
All right. We're going to move to consent items now, which is the next item on the agenda. We have 4 items. And I know Commissioner Murray, you had a question on one. We'll go ahead and do that question.
Okay, quick on item 3, just did Mala review the new contract?
Yeah, as is stated in the staff report, that's a BBK template. So everything works just fine. Even the original contract with Elisa was a BBK template agreement.
So
I think that's
it's
a
a
yes.
new contract to LLC. Did Mala review that contract?
Commissioner Murray, I don't think your mic is on. I can't hear you.
There you go.
Sorry.
Thank you.
The question is, new contract, did Mala review it?
It's a Molly, you need to turn your mic on, but it's a BBK template. So we don't have to send things to review in those cases. That's why they give us the templates to use.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Can I ask a question? I cannot find the raise hand function on this at all. And so I'm sorry to interrupt, but I can't find it.
Just wave your hand, Barbara. We'll know to recognize you.
Okay, I have a question.
Okay, Barbara, go ahead.
Okay, just a question I had asked on item 3, if we have received the new insurance certificates for Alyssa's new company.
Yes, we have.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Anything further on the consent calendar? We're going to look for a motion on the consent calendar now, please.
I'll move passage of the consent calendar.
Thank you.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on the consent calendar. Roll call, please.
Chair Kohler,
I'm here. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Yes,
Vice Chair
I'll get it.
Yes.
Commissioner Lucan,
Yes.
Commissioner Bordeaux,
Aye.
Commissioner Murray,
Aye.
Commissioner Chu,
Aye.
Alternate Commissioner Hilliard.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. That motion carries. We're going to move on to the public hearing now. Approval of Resolution 26-01, annexation of 673 Atherton Avenue, Novato into the Novato Sanitary District. with a waiver of notice, hearing, and protest proceedings, and finding it exempt from CEQA pursuant to state CEQA guidelines, section 15319. And I'm going to start with staff, please.
Marin LAFCo has received an application from Jim Delia requesting annexation of one undeveloped, unincorporated parcel located at 673 Atherton Ave, Novato, into Novato Sanitary District. The application seeks to annex into the Novato Sanitary District to receive a sanitary service and develop the lot into one home and one additional dwelling unit or accessory dwelling unit. The subject property is currently within NSD's adopted sphere of influence, and the proposal was circulated to NSD and other affected agencies. The majority of responses were in support or neutral, except for the city of Novato, which is discussed in the staff report.
Thank you. And I'm going to open the public hearing and look for questions of staff by commissioners. And welcome the applicant here.
Thank you. Good evening.
Thank you. And we'll give you a chance to say anything if you have anything to add in a minute. Go ahead, Craig.
So outside the urban growth boundary in Novato, generally we see failed septics, right? So it's improved property, failed septics, and wanting to connect. I guess the question for staff is, do you have to go through a septic system first, fail, and then come to connect? I think it's answered by just for good of the order. That would be interesting to hear from our staff.
I don't believe the county would give permits for a septic system unless they're unable to connect.
Yeah,
400 feet of a connecting point.
thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Other commissioner questions? Anyone online have a question, commissioners? Great. Would the applicant like to comment or just here for questions?
I'm just here for questions.
All right. Thank
Thank you for the time.
This is a pretty normal process we've gone through. We've done this many times and appreciate the city of Novato sending a letter, still reminding us that they have an urban growth boundary, but I think we've dealt with that fairly through the years and we will again on this application. So I'm looking for closing the public hearing and looking for a motion to approve this annexation.
I'm happy to make that motion.
Thank you.
Second.
We have Lucan and then second by Berto. All roll call, please.
Chair Kohler,
You said aye. Heard it.
Vice Chair Rodoni,
Aye.
Commissioner Lucan,
Aye.
Commissioner Bordeaux,
Aye.
Commissioner Murray,
Aye.
Commissioner Chu,
Aye.
Commissioner Hilliard.
Aye.
The motion passes.
Thank you. Thank you and congratulations.
Thank you very much for the time. Appreciate it. Thank you, Clay.
Thank you. The next item is a business item involving administrative, budgetary, legislative, or personal matters and may or may not be the subject to a public hearing. Item 6 is discussion and possible approval of the new board structure for Cal LAFCo being presented at its special meeting on February 23rd. And I just would mention, and Jason can follow up, that we have Joe here online and maybe not. Oh yeah, Joe's there, Toronto, and Michelle McIntyre, who is here to join us tonight, in from Cal LAFCo Executive Director. Is that
Yeah.
correct? Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair.
All right, so you stole part of my intro there. Joe may be putting one of his kids to sleep, so that's probably why he's not here just this second. But I'm assuming as soon as he hears that we're talking about this item, he will put his camera on and unmute himself. So what you have in front of you today is this specific item, and you have two Cal LAFCO items. I want to keep them separate for very specific reasons. In front of you for the first part of the Cal LAFCO discussion is an upcoming vote that is going to be occurring at a special meeting on the restructuring of how the Cal LAFCO board operates. Currently, the board is made up of 4 people from each region. You may recall in the past, I put out a call for people who are special district representative or public seat or county or city that they have individual seats. So each region has one of each type of seat that a LAFCO can hold. What this is going to do is remove that requirement and say anybody from the region can run regardless of what seat type you are, as long as you're a commissioner on a LAFCO, you can run. And in addition, it opens up the ability for executive officers to run for the executive board as well. So there'll be still 4 seats. The seat numbers isn't going to be changing. But you will see that this has an impact of allowing anyone to run. One of the problems that Cal LAFCo has seen in the past is sometimes when you have a specific seat in a region, perhaps like none of the county supervisors in that region want to run, and all of a sudden you're trying to find a warm body to fill that seat. That's not necessarily the best attitude to have when you're trying to fill an active, board, a group that like Cal LAFCO is trying to put together. So the restructuring committee that is looking at not just this, but doing new regions said we couldn't quite come to the conclusion of a new regional structure just yet. We needed more time. The group needed more time. I am part of that group. So sometimes you'll hear me talk as a personal thing because I am part of that group. But they said, at least let's take away the seat requirements for now, and we'll come back and revisit the restructuring and give it more time to do. So in front of you today is a discussion about that. Staff, you already have elected both myself and Jaron to be the voting and alternate delegates for us at the February 23rd meeting. We did that in December. So today, all you're really doing is instructing staff to do something. If you don't want to take any action today, it is staff's recommendation, and staff will vote yes for the vote, because we do think it is a very important change that will help make Cal LAFCo a strong, better organization in the long run. But if the commission has an overall difference of that opinion, please tell us now, because we have not voted yet, and we will vote however the commission tells us to vote at the end of the day if you take a position. So that is my comment, and I do notice that Joe has now joined us, and he can unmute and mute himself as he sees fit when people want to call on him. And I see Barbara has her hand up.
Barbara,
Okay,
before
thank
you
you.
actually wanted to give Joe a chance and
Okay,
our interim executive director a chance to comment if they want at this point.
Sure. Well, just I want to make one addition to Jason's report, and that is, if this passes, should it pass? Oh, for that the executive officers are eligible to run for the board. You have Joe Serrano and the other 3 regional executive officers that are currently voting board members. They would no longer be board members, voting or otherwise. So that's an important small part of this vote, but it is very important. So that was the only addition that I have. First, I want to say thank you for having me. I wanted to say that earlier, and I'm very happy to be here, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have about these items and anything else happening at Cal LAFCo. Joe, did you have anything to add?
Joe, would you like to add something?
Yes, I'll just echo what your executive officer and Ms. Michelle mentioned. This is an important vote that's going to happen on the 23rd. It's continuing the momentum that Cal LAFCo has done over the past, I believe, 10 to 12 months. As you know, at the end of 2024 and the beginning of 2025, Cal LAFCo was on wobbly legs, for lack of better terms. And there's been a lot of improvements since then. And this is just another example of how Cal LAFCo is listening to its membership, to the member LAFCOs. And what do they want to see to add more value to this organization? And so that's why we're having this vote, again, to maximize the historical knowledge that your executive officers have throughout the state. As you know, as elected officials, you bring a lot of expertise, but so do your staff. Your executive officers, for example, Michelle has over a decade of experience. Jason's up there as well. I've been doing this for over 17 years. So I've seen Cal LAFCo at its best times and its not so best times. And I want to share that with the board of directors. So having that ability to at least run and provide comments as an elected official or as a voting member on the Cal LAFCo board, I think it just adds value to the association. So I appreciate your staff's presentation and support on this process. I encourage your board to consider supporting this effort as well. But Michelle and I are happy to answer any questions about this particular item. So thank you for for your time.
Thank you. And I just want to note that Commissioner Caius has joined us, and now he'll be the voting member for special districts. So welcome, Lou.
Yeah, and Lou, you should be able to unmute yourself, and can you identify if any other adults are in the room with you? But you need to unmute yourself. We should have made you
Okay.
close. So
Am I unmuted now?
Yep, yes, you are.
Okay, there are no other adults in the room with me.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And I
Lou.
apologize for being late. As you can see, I've got this sling on my my shoulder where I had shoulder replacement surgery, 8 or 10 hours ago. And it was just kind of hard to navigate everything. So apologies.
Very good. Thank you, Lou. Barbara, would you like to go ahead?
Yeah, thank you. And I just want to point out that there's 3 of us that are home with just cause. Mine is just a horrible cold that I didn't want to give you all. So appreciate Vice Chair Rodoni taking over the helm. I want to say, first of all, thank you for all your efforts, Jason, Michelle, and Joe, to move this forward. And we do appreciate that. And I think particularly one of the things I was struck by was the idea of having EOs have the potential to be voting board members. I think that's a really positive move. As you pointed out, Joe, staff bring a lot to the table that we as commissioners bring different perspectives, but staff really can do that. But one of the things, I guess I want to say we're a little disappointed that we're not at the point where we can be talking about a new regional structure. And I know the group worked towards that, but didn't get there. Can you, Michelle or Joe, can you tell us when we can expect a new regional structure system that we could vote on? I'd like to hear that.
So at the upcoming staff.
Michelle, can you talk more directly into your mic?
Sure.
Thank you.
Guys, there we go. So the next part of our plan is to go back to the membership. So we have a staff workshop coming up in May. So it's May 6th or the 8th. And so we are having a general session right after the opening of the workshop. And so to receive feedback from all of the member LAFCos. And there will also be non-member LAFCos that will be joining us at the workshop. And so the idea is we will continue meeting as a working group. As Jason mentioned, he is part of that working group. And we will continue listening, and also it gives having this meeting in May with the staff, it allows your staff to go back to the individual commissioners and have these further discussions during the summer, because the next meeting of, the business meeting for all the membership is in October. And so potentially that could be an opportunity, or the next opportunity, to bring it again to the membership. So again, my hope is that we can continue these conversations, and that in May, and then your individual staffs can come and talk to you and provide your input.
Okay, and it looks like Joe wants to add something.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner. Just to add to Michelle's point, Cal LAFCo formed this restructuring regional committee, and it's been working on this specific item for the last couple of months. And with Michelle's leadership, we actually drafted a regional map. And one of the main points that we wanted to do is to solicit comments from the member LAFCos. And because this is a significant change to the Cal LAFCO structure, we want to make sure that we hear from all of the membership LAFCos. And during that comment period, we didn't get enough input and feedback from the memberships, and we didn't want to move forward with a vote, because initially, and Michelle can correct me, I believe the plan was to present this new map for a vote at this special meeting on the 23rd, but because of the lack of input that we received from the entire membership, we didn't feel it was appropriate to present it for a vote, because we wanted to hear from the membership. That's the main concern we heard over the last 2 years from the member LAFCos was we're not being heard. The Cal LAFCO board's not listening to what we want or what we need or what we want to be addressed. So before we bring this significant change, we want to make sure that we hear from the membership LAFCOs, vet any concerns, and once we have a map that we can say that we have a consensus, we've heard from the majority of the pros and cons, now we feel comfortable presenting it to the membership for a vote. And that's the reason why we decided not to present it to the membership on the 23rd. And that's why, because we just need more time to have a discussion with the memberships. And Michelle's right, we're going to have further discussions with the other LAFCOs, and we're hoping that later this year we can present a regional map for your commission to discuss and direct your staff or your voting delegate to take action. So it's not that we're not spending time on it. I am one who wants to continue to see success and achievement and milestones being made by the Cal LAFCo board. But for that particular item, we just want to get we just need more time to get input. And once we get that input, then we'll feel comfortable presenting it to the membership for a vote. So we're working hard on it. We're working hard. It's taking a little more time.
I know you all are doing that. Just one question. So it sounds like Michelle talked about a workshop in May where you'll get feedback. But it does seem to me, if we want to try to meet the October conference meeting, that we ought to consider having sort of a follow-up workshop at some point later in the summer or early in the fall, because I think many of us, and I can't speak for other LAFCOs, but would really like to see this move forward this year. So to the extent that you guys can potentially schedule another follow-up kind of workshop feedback September or something, so potentially, you know, we're good for October, that would be wonderful. And I want to say, I don't want to diminish. I know you guys have been working really hard, and Jason has told me how difficult and how hardworking everybody is. So appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Barbara. Larry or Lou, anything online, additional questions?
Yeah, actually, I just have a comment. My own observation and kind of evaluation of some of this. We have been talking about this within Marin LAFCo for, I'm going to say, several months. And it's surprising to me that we are not further along than we already are. And so I would like to emphasize the importance of really focusing attention, whatever the attention is, whatever the resources are, to come back with a solid, well thought out plan on how to address this, and so that we know what our interaction with Cal LAFCo is going to be. I think that's important, so that we not delay things any longer, and we can kind of move forward or decide not to. So that's just my kind of view of it.
Thank you. Larry, anything?
I don't have anything for this part. Thank you.
Thank you. So Steve, I think you have a question.
Thank you, Chair. Looking at, and thank you for the presentation. I generally supportive of this. I just had a question about kind of the makeup of the bylaws, where, we're allowing executive officers to, participate and be elected. My question is, I didn't see anything in the bylaws, particularly in Article 4, that would prevent all of the elected members in a particular region being executive officers. I think that would be something that may give me some concern there, that, we would want, at least, in my opinion, at least half of the body to be, duly elected by the people at some point, representing a constituency. And I'm wondering, A, if that's been, brought up or discussed, and B, if there's any consideration and thought in terms of addressing that.
Yeah, so that has been, not specifically that EOs are going to take over all the seats. I think if you talk to EOs, and I've talked to many of them, all of us have said, look, if one of you were to run for the board, I guarantee you I'm not running for that board at the same time. I'm not going to run against any of you, and I don't think you can find a single executive officer who will do that. If I saw that an executive officer from one of our neighboring LAFCOs was running, I'm probably going to give the same consideration. I think there's more concern from the executive officer side that we're not going to get enough executive officers wanting to run, because if commissioners run, we're not running against them. It's more, a lot of us feel like we're going to be the backstop when there's not a commissioner looking to run. will fill in the seat at that point, because you're going to have a hard time getting an executive officer to run against one of their own bosses.
Then why wouldn't you codify that in like the bylaws that if no members choose to run, then executive officers would serve?
One of the things to keep in mind, and our honest hope, is that we're going to have new regions and a new regional structure that's going to be completely different than what you see today, and that should hopefully take care of that type of a problem. We're looking at, and while it's not in here, we're looking at 9, 10 regions rather than 4, with like 1 or 2 people running in each region. Like our region theoretically would be like 4, maybe 5 LAFCos. And so it's going to be a lot easier to manage and maintain who's running, how things are working. And I think that's when you'll get this. This is kind of a stopgap in the short term, because originally we thought we would have a new regional structure in place, and that new regional structure would answer a lot of the questions you're asking. This is more of a stopgap in the short term. How do we deal with things until we get to that new regional structure? And at least that's what my philosophy was, and when trying to put this together and presenting it to the general body for a vote.
I thank you for that. I just think, and not to say that anybody's thinking of anything now, but maybe 20 years down the road, or even during this interim period, executive officers say, these pesky board members don't know what they're doing and we need to take over. I would be interested to hear what Mala has to say about, kind of the protections here and properly, establishing this. But I'll end my questions and comments there.
Good. Marla, do you want to comment?
I will be honest, I have not been involved in it individually. Our firm serves as general counsel to Cal LAFCo, so I know my colleagues have been involved in it, but I suspect what Jason said is very accurate in terms of EOs not wanting to step in if there are other potential board members who are interested, as well as other EOs. I think there would be a significant sensitivity to that.
If I could, because I was an executive officer for Placer LAFCo for a number of years. And so the reality is, for at least my commission there, they would have the chair or the vice chair, whoever's going to the conference, be the voting delegate. So the reality is you're going to have the commissioners voting to elect, the members of the board. And so by that, you do have some protection in that your own individual commissions, will appoint a commissioner before an EO.
Thank you.
All right. Joe, anything to add?
I think the commissioner that spoke and raised this question raises concerns that I've also heard from other commissioners, and even from my own commission, about does that mean that the EOs are going to take over the board? And again, that's not the case. It's really meant to be an alternative option for the Cal LAFCo board of directors if that particular region does not have someone that is willing to volunteer to be on this board. Because as you know, as elected officials, you have a lot on your plate, and having and being part of a statewide organization that now members are asking for more, it's a lot to ask. So this is just an opportunity for EOs who are interested in running, if there's no one else, then having it be an open seat, or worse, have a vacant seat, because that's not the intent. We want to make sure that we have equal representation throughout the whole state. So that's the reason. But it's Jason's right. This is something that I don't know if we can kind of have it as verbiage, but EOs, we have a lot going on in our own respective counties. We're not here running to be elected officials or be on the board, but if we're needed, we'll definitely volunteer. But like Jason said, I would not go against my commissioner who's interested in being on the Cal LAFCo board. We want elected officials to represent us like they do in our respective LAFCO. So I hear your concern. I've heard that concern as well. And I think as we move forward, we could find language that addresses those issues. And I think right now we're just trying to have one step closer to having that discussion. And I think that discussion is going to be part of that reorganization or regionalization. So fair question and fair point.
Thank you very much. So Craig, you have questions, please?
Yeah, so mine kind of similar theme, but we right now have seat types with county, city, special district, moving to at-large. And the concern is, we've seen on Cal LAFCo representation, some members just serving longer periods of time. I know there'll be some stopgaps on that, but how are we going to prevent larger counties and cities dominating? It's great each commission will kind of push forward their candidate, but is there any thought in regards to representation, particularly of smaller entities, so it's not just the larger ones?
Well, remember, we are broken up by regions right now, so each region, elects its own people. Like when you're talking about small LAFCOs, for the most part, those are the northern area LAFCOs, and they have their own region. So they're going to only elect small LAFCOs because that's all that they have up there. The southern region is predominantly, if everyone were members of Cal LAFCO, which they're not down there, but if they were all members, are all large LAFCOs. So you're going to get a large LAFCO from down there. And then what you get is the coastal and central, which is a mix of the two. And just looking at the board now, how if you look at our seats, you have a combination of small and large LAFCOs represented across those two regions. So I think that and even medium-sized LAFCOs in there. So I think the natural process tends to work itself out in a good way. And I think that this isn't going to change that. And once again, this is what is hopefully a one-year stopgap situation to get us to a new regional structure, which will have its own board structure put in place underneath it. So I think that while I appreciate the long-term questions and long-term concerns, my personal thing is this isn't the long-term solution to anything. This is a short-term solution because we know it's going to get changed or it has to get changed. And I think everyone's on board with seeing a change. The question is, can we get everyone to agree to the change? And if not, then we can look at some of those questions that you and Commissioner Berto have brought up, like how do we make sure that these things are a little bit better balanced? And that would be when I would want to spend the time to do that. I wouldn't want to spend it now because we have so many other things we're trying to fix and do. I'd rather focus on those, get those fixed and done, and hopefully that solves the problem. But I am taking notes. I know, Michelle is taking notes, and those will be part of the discussions as we're moving forward with how do we create a new regional structure.
Yeah, thank you, Jason. I think it'll be a work in progress because we saw at the last conference, particularly in our region, we had a San Benito rep that had served Cal LAFCO before come against a new rep, city council person from San Jose, and the larger San Jose person ended up achieving that. But
I don't think that, to be fair, I was there. I don't think it was that one was from a small city, one was from a large city, and that's why they won. I think the one that won put out a better resume as to why they should be on the board, and that's why they got elected.
Yeah, and I want to point out that I voted for that person. It wasn't about small versus large. She had a great resume and she really made the rounds. So I don't think it's about large versus small.
yeah, and I was more devil's advocate on that, if this is more of a rule and exception. And then I have one question on the bylaws that will be at this February 23rd meeting. Just if you could explain on page 5 of the bylaws, 2.7, it talks about certificates of membership and what that means. Talks about a corporation and certificates.
Yeah,
of
it's
membership.
technically speaking, Cal LAFCO is a private corporation because that's how these types of associations get formed.
Right, we're a 501c3, so we're a nonprofit organization. And so,
Yeah, so that's just how that, I'm assuming that's what, BBK in their review, that's what that part I don't think is even being changed at all. So
no.
that's an old standard that was done long ago in the process. All we're looking at doing is the red line amendments in there, and that's all we're voting on and approving at the special meeting.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Craig. Eric, anything tonight? Catherine? All right, very good. So if I understand this right, Jason, there's no action unless we want to change what we proposed in December, which was you to vote for.
Well, you wouldn't be changing me voting, you would be changing how I'm going to vote, which is to support the amendment.
But if we have no change, there's
Then
no action
nothing to do.
tonight.
Yeah, correct.
Okay. So what's the preference of the commission on this item? This is item 6. I want to go to public comment too, but I see there's no one in the room that I should ask. And anyone online want to make public comment?
No public members online.
So there's no,
I would suggest, Chair, that we go ahead and I mean, I would make a motion to support moving forward with this, just to be clear. If
Okay.
you're okay with that, Chair.
I would support that.
That, please. So we have a motion from Commissioner Kohler to move forward as planned, and the board has their, executive director has his direction. Can I have a second?
Do we need a roll call vote?
We need a second first.
Second.
Yeah.
We have a
I'll second.
By Commissioner Lucan. Now we need a roll call vote, please.
Chair Kohler,
Aye.
Vice Chair Rodoni,
Aye.
Commissioner Caius,
Aye.
Commissioner Lucan,
Aye.
Commissioner Bordeaux,
Aye.
Commissioner Murray,
Aye.
and Commissioner Chu.
Aye.
Okay.
Motion passes.
Thank you for that motion, and that carries. So we're moving to item 7, which is discussion of possible action on whether to retain Marin LAFCo's membership with Cal LAFCo. Jason, you want to kick this off?
Sure. I'll start this off. First, let me state that we do not have to make a decision tonight. We still have plenty of time. We put this on the agenda today because tonight, as you can see, is a very light agenda. Our April meeting is going to be very heavy agenda, and our June meeting may be as well. So I wanted to have, if we're going to have a long discussion, I felt tonight was the better night to spend the time to do it, so you're not crazy busy with the other meetings, with long meetings that we already have. So with that in mind, what we wanted to talk about, and we started this discussion last February, was is Cal LAFCo providing what we need in order to maintain membership? Last year, there were 8 LAFCos, I believe, that left Cal LAFCo and decided not to renew their membership. We were not one of them. We decided to stay within Cal LAFCo. Last year, we had the mantra of amend, don't end. So we've been trying to amend Cal LAFCo, and that gets me into the discussion of, well, what has actually transpired in the last year? We had 3 main categories that we wanted to see. One of them was administrative, how they operate. They have done a lot of work. You've heard me report over the course of this last year multiple times at the October conference, at this upcoming February meeting, that there's a lot of changes that have transpired and occurred. They've also things that didn't require membership votes. They've done a lot of things. I mentioned Cal LAFCo mentorship program for staff to help grow and mentor our own staff, so that they can become, the people can go up the chain of command and eventually become executive officers and keep that knowledge within the Cal LAFCo family. That actually, I said it hadn't been launched yet. I will tell you, just prior to this meeting, Michelle sent out the launch email, so that program is now live and launched. Joe has been working on what's referred to as a Cal LAFCo Academy, another thing for staff in order to help train us and get us better educated on Cal LAFCO activities. That is still a work in progress. That will be launching hopefully later this year. There have been, like I said, many bylaw changes, plenty of other activities that have done. And so on that part, I would say I would give them a check. I wouldn't say they've done everything yet. And I think that the Cal LAFCO would acknowledge not everything has been done yet. But I think we've done a heck of a lot of work to make a lot of changes occur. They've even done things like reiterate or reinstate the Cal LAFCO U's. Last year, we had 3 of them. We have another one coming up later this month.
Yes, and we have 84 as of a couple of
Okay.
days ago.
So if you haven't signed up, it's a Cal LAFCO 101. Even if you've been around Cal LAFCO for a while, it's always good sometimes to go back and take the 101 course just to remind yourselves of some of the things you may have forgotten Cal LAFCOs can do. So that is coming up. And then there'll be more of them coming later this year. Right now, they're focused on creating the staff workshop. And then once that's done, we'll get back to creating Cal LAFCO U's again. So there's been a lot of activity, and I think a lot of positive steps in that category. The other 2 main categories that Marin LAFCo has had an issue with, one is the dues process. They redid the dues many years ago. Most of you were not on Marin LAFCo at the time, but Dennis, Craig, Lou, and I think Barbara were on the commission at that point in time, or maybe Barbara wasn't yet. That's how long ago it was. They redid the dues structure, and at the time and ever since then, we've always said the dues structure does not make sense. It is an unfair, unbalanced system, and it needs to be looked at. They have not touched that issue yet. One of the things that we could do is make a request for them to touch that issue. The other big picture item is our regions. Our regions are way out of balance. Even if you had all 58 LAFCOs in Cal LAFCO, you have some regions that are paying a lot less as a region as a whole. Into Cal LAFCO, you have fewer LAFCOs in them, fewer commissioners, and like our region is one of the larger ones. We pay over 40% of the Cal LAFCO dues, but only get a quarter of its board member seats. Like, where's the equity in how the regions are done? as we kind of talked about this item, we are working towards a restructuring. I think we got very close. I'm not 100% in agreement with how Joe described it. I say we got a lot of feedback, and not all of it was positive. And so we needed to go back and actually relook at how we do it. I think we have a very close system, though. I think that with some tweaking of it, we could probably get there. And I think at the May staff workshop, we will get very close to getting to that final agreement and arrangement that lets us get there. So I think that's coming, but that's not coming until October at this point. And the hope is that if the one question that we do have is what happens if it doesn't come? Well, if it doesn't come, that means we're waiting probably another year before we get to regions. And keep in mind, you change the regions this year, we're not actually electing delegates based on that new regional structure at the conference. We're electing them on the old structure. And so it's actually a year after that before you actually have the new board members representing the new regional structure, because they meet once a year. You can't really you can't change your regions and then have elections at the same meeting. That doesn't work, because people don't know, am I running? Am I not running? What is my region? What's not my region? It's very hard to do. So there's going to be a delay. Well, if we don't get something in October, then we're doing something in October timeframe. I don't know when the conference is in 2027, but that means you're not actually electing a new board until October of 2028, and they're getting seated in December. So you all of a sudden could have a very big delay. And that is a concern of mine. And I'm pretty sure I've talked with a couple of commissioners. I know some of you have voiced that same concern, that we need to get something moving and we need these new regions in place in order to do that. So those are, from a high level, I would say, one, we got a good check mark on. They've done it. One area they haven't even started yet. And the other area, we've got a lot of good work, but it's not completed yet. And so we need to be there to help complete that process. I could go into probably an hour tirade about all the other things that have done, both positive and negative. But I think overall, Cal LAFCo is trying to get there. It's just sometimes, as all of you that work in government know, it's a government work. Sometimes it just takes a long time to do. You want to get something done, but it's a bureaucratic process that you want to go through, and we want to get it correct. And so it's taking a little bit longer than some would like for these new regions to be done. So that's my high level discussion. I'm sure there are going to be plenty of questions, and I don't know if I missed anything. I would want to yield to Joe or to Michelle to add anything I might have missed.
So Jason, just to clarify,
Yeah.
when are you looking for this decision? I know we have to budget it for next year if we're going to continue.
Yeah, I mean, we could either make a decision in April, we could make a decision in June. We also could decide, technically speaking, we don't have to pay our dues for next year until next year occurs, and it occurs after our August meeting. If we really wanted to delay it for some reason, we could wait till August to do that. Not a big fan of that particular process, because if we don't do it and we're leaving, I would prefer to tell Cal LAFCo. I don't want to be one. There was one LAFCo that just let their dues lapse and didn't really say anything until after it lapsed. And I don't want to be that type of a LAFCo. I think that we owe them the courtesy to say we're not joining if we're not. So either in April or June would be when we would ideally make a decision, unless there's a strong opinion today, which I don't think there should be, because I think we got some unanswered questions still. And I put some of those questions in the staff report, so you have those in front of you.
Right, thank you. And so if we decide to re-up for next year, but the process doesn't go as expected, the reorganization doesn't occur, do we have an option of getting out mid-year and getting funds back? Or is it, once you're in, you're in?
That's an interesting question. For those that this process has, since it's in the packet, made me reread the entire bylaws like Craig did and was looking at stuff that even wasn't red line edited. There is an interesting comment, or I don't want to say comment, but an interesting section 2.2 about membership dues. Cal LAFCo, during its budgeting process, which it is about to do at its February meet later this month, is about to do but hasn't done yet, will approve a budget. And in that budgeting process, it allows Cal LAFCo board to determine when dues, and there's a dues or dues, so it's either singular or plural, so it gives you the ability to potentially pay once or pay twice. Cal LAFCO has always had a singular process to do this. It gives them a little bit of flexibility in how to do stuff. I mean, we could potentially request, and this is me, thinking off the cuff here a little bit, we could potentially want to request, like, hey, we want to see what occurs in October. If what we get in October is good, we're going to continue. We want to be members for the year. If we don't get a new regional structure in October for whatever reason, maybe that's our cutoff point. Like it's too long, too far of a process. We're not willing to stick around and continue to pay dues at that point. So the question is, can we make a request of Cal LAFCo, and would Cal LAFCo accept it? Of maybe we say, hey, we're willing to pay for half a year up front. We want to see what occurs at the October conference and annual meeting. And if we like what occurs, if things are moving forward in a way that we think is positive, we'll agree to pay for the second half of the year. And maybe they break up our dues into dues and use the plural of it. It's an unorthodox. It's not the way that it works, but we could always make that request to the board prior to them approving a budget. So if we do that, we would need to make a decision today to make that request.
Okay. Thank you. So I'm going to look to Michelle and Joe if they want to add anything at this point.
Yeah, I just to add on to Jason's presentation, and not to, yes, we have made a lot of changes, but I feel like I want to kind of drill down a little bit more because there has been significant changes since I would say July, so even before I was hired, with the changes to the bylaws and the policies. And a lot of these, again, I was a former executive officer, former analyst, former clerk. And so over 20 plus years with LAFCOs. And so some of these changes where it seems like, gosh, it should have been maybe common sense, or it's something that should have been done a long time ago, but weren't. And so it's things like orientation for new board members. I spent after the conference in San Diego, we had I think 5-6 new board members. I spent a significant amount of time one-on-one training board members, driving up and down the state to make sure that they had that training, what our expectations are. Again, you'd think that would have been common sense, but that's new to Cal LAFCo. The board self-evaluation, that is new. And so it gives not just Cal LAFCo staff and not just the individual boards to review themselves, but it also allows member LAFCOs to provide feedback on what's working and what's not working. Again, that's new and something that should have, in my opinion, been there all along, and surprised that it wasn't there. The regional officers being on the board, being voting members, has been a significant change to, you have, executive officers like Joe Serrano, you have Jose Enriquez, you have Tyler Salsado from down south, and then you have Shannon Costa from Butte. Decades upon decades of experience that have now been such a wonderful source for the board, as well as LAFCO staff or Cal LAFCO staff. The rotation that goes with the regions, that's also new. So there's less chaos. There's an expectation. Currently, you have a coastal member as the chair, and then you have, the southern region as the vice chair. So there's an expectation that the southern region will have the chair. Again, this, you would think all of these things would have been expectations, but they weren't codified. They were just, a handshake understanding, right? But all of these, small steps have been, taken, when you take them as a whole, have just been huge improvements, in my opinion, for the association. Again, just not because I'm the director, but because I have been a member for over 2 decades. Just things like, I wrote down notes here, the code of ethics. They didn't have a code of ethics, a communications plan. And so all of this has helped us not just function better, but also be more responsive for the membership. And, personally, again, not just because I'm the director, but because I love LAFCOs, I just think that it's been, it's been an opportunity for all the LAFCOs to have a stronger voice and more unified voice. And, something that I hadn't seen in Cal LAFCo for a long time. And then, just talking about earlier, Jason mentioned that we, reinstituted the LAFCO 101. Joe will tell you, because he told me that in the past, we would have 50, right? And here we are. I looked a few days ago. We're nearly 3 weeks out from LAFCO 101, and we had 84 that are attending. So I think there's a lot of momentum and excitement from the members, like Jason said, the ones that did stick it out and chose to make amendments instead of just end the partnership that they had with CalAFCO. So anyway, that's my little soapbox.
No, thank you.
You're welcome.
Joe, would you like to add anything? And then we'll get to Barbara.
Yeah, I'll keep it short. The organization has made a lot of improvements. There's still more to go. But I think the key thing that can't be really measured in a sense of like a tangible execution, it's that CalAFCO is starting to regain the trust from the member LAFCOs. And I think that was critical. And we've been able to do that with the bylaw changes, hiring an executive director that actually has LAFCO experience. I think that makes a huge difference, because now we know that we have someone who understands what we're trying to accomplish. And I'll also note that one of the things I do like about your executive officer is he's not shy to share his opinions about what's working and not working for CalAFCO. And having his voice at the table plays a key role. And I think Marin LAFCo being at the table helps us and guides us to having tough discussions and finding a middle ground and making sure that we're making progress. So that type of leadership, that type of spearheading efforts to make changes of CalAFCO is needed. So I would encourage this commission to continue helping CalAFCO be successful by being within and not outside looking in, but actually playing a key role. So I really appreciate the leadership from this commission. I would hate to see you go, not just because the fact that you are a key player in these discussions, but the goal is to have all 58 LAFCOs as part of CalAFCO. That's the goal. We're better united. It sounds cliche, but it's true in the sense of this statewide organization. And so having CalAFCO kind of not reinvent itself, but evolve to what we're expecting as member LAFCOs. I've always been a cheerleader for this organization because I see the value in it. And now we're starting to see the value kind of spreading out to the member LAFCOs. And I think it's because of Marin LAFCO's kind of due diligence of pushing this discussion forward. So I definitely don't want to see you go. So I would recommend that you take action to stay with CalAFCO, but that's just me not being your staff. But someone that is optimistic of CalAFCO's future. And I think having Marin LAFCO at the table will help us get to those discussions that you've been asking for, which is the dues and the restructuring. This is something that I think is needed to be discussed, and we're getting there. And having Marin at the driver's seat, or at least in the car with us, is going to make a big difference. So those are my points on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Barbara.
Yeah, well, I want to first of all thank all of you, Michelle, Jason, Joe, and others for working really hard on this. And I was able to participate in the conference last year. Was it last year? Yes, October, and really saw the energy. And I think with Michelle at the helm, who really gets it, I think there's a lot to be said. So appreciate the passion that Michelle showed on all the work she's doing to turn things around. And I know she's not doing that alone. It's a team project. And I think just to, not say we don't appreciate, but we are kind of concerned about the dues and, are there current plans to revisit the dues structure, and when would that be? And I would ask Jason one question, which is, so I don't know what CalAFCO's year is. When are the dues due? Are they due in September? Is it the federal fiscal year? I don't know. When do we pay those dues?
Yeah, so The dues, the Cal LAFCo follows the fiscal calendar similar to ours, July 1st to June 30th.
Okay, so the state.
Yes, yeah. So they follow the same thing. Now, the dues themselves, they will issue us our annual dues. They normally send it to us in June. We normally pay it on July 1st because it's part of this fiscal year's operation. So we wait until July 1st. If I'm
Okay.
not mistaken, you have 60 days after July 1st to do it. So at the end of August, you need to have paid dues or you're considered automatically no longer a member because you haven't paid your dues come September 1st.
All right, I get that. And what is the amount that we pay? I think when you and I talked, it was about $5,000.
I
Is
believe
that
we
right?
pay about 5,500 this year. I would have to look to Cal LAFCo to what we're going to pay next year. I don't know yet.
So the
Okay.
staff recommendation will be the same as last year plus CPI, which is what's been consistent with the last few years out of Cal LAFCo.
Okay, and Michelle, what CPI are you guys looking at? Do you look at April? I mean, there's
Yeah,
different
I
ones.
assume it'll be like April to April. I will look.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry. I apologize. It can't be April to April because the meeting with the discussion from staff with the staff recommendation will be in February. So,
So you're probably using the February CPI. Okay, great. I just think we're anxious here, and I also feel personally that, it's a good team. I think Jason brings a lot to the table, as Joe talked about. And having met some of the other folks on the team, I think it is a good team. But I also know that we are kind of anxious and we'd like to see things move forward. So just a quick question for either Michelle or Joe. What is the likelihood that we would see changes to the dues and or the regions at the October meeting? Would you expect more potentially the regions with what we've talked about tonight, but maybe the dues after? What do you think?
well, to me, when we sent out the survey, and I agree with Jason. I will admit that I think my LAFCO, our dues were 9,000. It was a little under 10,000 every year. And when I looked at the dues, it was, we just approved it and kept moving. Now, as the director of Cal LAFCO, and I've had a chance to really dig into how the dues are structured, I agree. There is some unfairness with the different tiers. But when we sent out the survey, it seemed like there were more comments about the regions than there were the dues. And so that was my takeaway. And again, as Jason said, we had a map that we reviewed countless maps from the executive director of Cal LAFCO 3 executive directors ago when the regions first came about. And so I will say that those discussions were a lot further along. And as Jason indicated to me, there were just a few tweaks, if you will, that needed to occur on the map itself. But with the dues, I agree 100%. It's not fair to the higher tiers. When you get into like the population around, right under 1 million for a county, that's when it starts becoming really wonky, in my opinion. It's just not fair. But again, realistically, it seemed like the discussion with the map went further than the dues discussion.
Okay, and just one quick question, and it's probably my lack of understanding, but it seems like we're always tied to everything happening at the October meeting. Is there, I've been on other regional organizations where we're not tied to one annual meeting. Is there a possibility of doing things mid-course? So let's say we get regional structure and the board structure figured out in October. Could we consider, I mean, this is not crazy. It just seems like it would be a good idea to not wait till the next year. What do you think?
No, I agree. So I actually was told that this is the first special meeting that we've had. I don't know if that's accurate, but that seems to be what everyone has told me. And so there was a lot of surprise when we sent out the notice that we were having this special meeting in February, because historically it's always been in October. So I guess my point is, yes, because things are changing and they have changed. This is just another example of we're not waiting until October. We're
Well,
having a
that's
special meeting now.
I think that's really promising. And I think, given your energy and the folks on the committee, it sure seems like capitalizing on this energy and the work that you guys done is really important. So appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, it sounds kind of crazy to say this is the first special meeting, but that's great. And I think, you know, you're here to kind of break down some of the old ways of doing business, which may have been fine. But so that's great. Thank you, both of you, for coming tonight. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Yep. Chair or Vice Chair Rodoni, can I
Yep.
just throw in a comment here? There was something that Michelle said. I'm going to apologize to her because I'm going to kind of throw this under the bus here. But to my knowledge, zero has been done about the due structure. It's not like we're having discussions or any discussions have occurred. I want to be very clear. If they are occurring, I have not been made aware of a single discussion. So the due structure nothing has occurred on the due structure, because my understanding is the board of directors has to instruct there to be some sort of discussion for that to actually really occur in a meaningful way. So I think one of the things that we need to do is figure out how do we get the board of directors to understand the due structure needs to be discussed, because it is out of whack, unbalanced for many different reasons.
Sorry, I will say that it was from the feedback that we received from all the listening sessions and then the outreach. I'm getting the feedback from the membership.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Murray?
Yeah, so I want to express thanks certainly to Michelle McIntyre, interim LAFCo, Cal LAFCO executive officer, coming from the Sacramento area. And Joe seems to always be very supportive, leading our strategic sessions. And then I've attended the Cal LAFCO academies, and I've been with Cal LAFCO a while, so I've been to trainings at the conferences. So this is kind of a new approach. And Michelle, you mentioned about how successful it's becoming, and that's tantamount to leadership and what you guys are doing. So I also see that new Cal LAFCO or LAFCO members at each LAFCO coming in would need 101 and maybe could use these sessions to bring them up to speed, so to speak, rather than waiting if they could even attend that one-time annual conference. And there seems to be a little lack, and if you really don't have a keyed up executive or assistant officers that really kind of bring up the folks coming in LAFCO, I could see this as being a really great service and a repository where folks could go to. So I wanted to give thanks for that. I've recognized it. I'm not sure if you're getting it, but those of us participated have recognized that. And then I also agree with our executive officer on the dues. It seems to be something we've been struggling with for an awfully long time, but I also understand there's a certain strategy to it. So why would you want to get way out in front until you have a map and how things are organized? So it'll probably be a procedural process, but as our chair Kohler mentioned, is I think there's opportunity to, again, not wait for the annual conference, but try to keep things moving and keep it in front of people. So that's the challenge. And I'm certainly okay with waiting on any sort of action on this item.
Very good. Thank you. Anyone else here in the room have questions or comments they want to make? Catherine, go ahead.
These are just questions. So basically, we pay about $5,500 a year, and we're going into a new year, the 1st of July. Is that correct? Okay, and then how many staff people are there in Cal LAFCO?
You're looking at the one staff person. The Cal LAFCO also has 4 regional officers. Joe is one of them. They help and assist a little bit. They get what I'm just call a small token of appreciation that they get a small stipend to help do that, but it does not nearly cover the cost of time that they spend doing that work. And then there are some consultants and stuff that also help out, like with the conference and other things like that.
Sure, yes, and then we also have a lobbyist, a professional lobbying firm that we contract. We have a marketing firm. So we do have a lot of consultants, as Jason noted, that provide specific services to Cal LAFCo. So so the team is a little bit bigger than just me.
And then the question is, do you have regularly scheduled meetings to work on this?
Do you mean with the board or with among staff at the staff level?
Well, I'm sorry, this is where my confusion is. You have a team that's working on changing things with Cal LAFCo. Does the team meet regularly so that we well, I'm an alternate, can have expectations of something produced at certain periods of time that we can take a look at?
So there's a restructuring committee that was created that has EOs from all the different regions, kind of equally balanced between the regions. I serve on that. We have a every other week meeting. Sometimes every once in a while they get canceled for various reasons, but we are meeting, pretty much every other week. When we come up to a conference or something, we'll take a break because we have the conference to focus on. But there are regular meetings, and like I said, there have been a lot of hours put in by that working group to try and create a new regional structure. It just wasn't quite there yet. It was close, but not quite. And so the group as a whole decided, let's measure twice, cut once. And so we didn't present anything to the general membership. That was originally what the purpose of the February special meeting of Cal LAFCo was to vote on a new regional structure, because that then gave time for everyone to decide, we're going to run for a new board. You're running for this new regional structure, so there needed to be time for everyone to have the discussions. Who's running for the board? Who's going to serve on the board? How is that all going to work? But unfortunately, like I said, we didn't have that, which is why we did the stopgap, what I'm calling the stopgap thing that we're voting on, that we discussed in the previous item.
So, okay, so I guess I'm still looking for next steps. So as an alternate, so I can expect that you're going to work on bylaws first, then
The
membership.
The restructuring committee is solely working on the restructuring of the regions. Now that will entail some bylaw changes. So we will deal with, once we figure out what it is we're actually going to have, then we will figure out, the legal folks will get involved and figure out how do we turn that into a bylaws thing that gets put in there, and how do we describe it. So those things will follow. The only focus that this group has, though, is how do we create a new regional structure, and what does the board look like for that new regional structure? Everything else, like if you wanted to talk about dues, that is outside of this group's purview to discuss at this point. At least that's my understanding. My hope would be perhaps in the future, the board of directors gives that authority to the group, because I think that due structure and regional structure are aligned together. How do you create balanced regions if you don't know how much everyone's paying to be part of Cal LAFCo? Like there's some questions that the two kind of go to get hand in hand. And unfortunately, the group was only given the restructuring and what does your new board look like under that structured system. That's all we're looking at. And we are continuing to meet. We will continue to meet all the way through until we have a done product, or until everyone throws up their hands and says, we can't figure out how to do something that we think the membership will vote for. Hopefully the second part doesn't occur. Hopefully it's the first option.
Okay.
Thanks.
Catherine?
Yeah.
I would just ask, I assume that we could ask Michelle to make sure that the dues item is agendized as soon as she has a functional new board under the new board arrangement. We could ask for that to be added on a future agenda of the new LAFCO board. That's probably where it needs to be dealt with, and then they can reach back to experts if they need to, advisory group or whatever. But I think that's what I'm hearing is we're interested in both the reorganization and the due structure, and we don't want to have a long delay in this discussion. We'd love to have that this year, and something maybe resolved this year.
Yeah, Larry.
Yeah, Larry, go ahead. You have a question.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I was going to basically say what you just said, Vice Chair Rodoni. For us, we've been told that, in future years there could be other financial pressures on our budget. So, the sooner that we can get this resolved, the better. Otherwise, we go into another fiscal year with a lot of uncertainties. Now, from what I've heard and what I've read, it sounds like the biggest objection to our current due structures seems to be inequities that are built into the current formula. So it would just seem like if that's the problem you're trying to solve, it just becomes a simple math problem. So, that's through Jason, I'd certainly be willing to help with that. I think, though, like it's been expressed by several other commissioners, we would like to see, this process, resolved sooner than later, though.
Okay, thank you. Lou, do you want to add anything before I go to Barbara?
Lou, you need to unmute yourself.
I know it. I'm trying to navigate it with the left hand because I don't have a right hand.
Oh,
Get good at that before it's over.
I'm now unmuted, right?
Yes.
yep.
Okay. So I would just add again, this had become a very time-consuming topic that ought to seem very straightforward, that continues to puzzle me about why we're talking about this over months and months. As any of you who know me, who have been on LAFCo for a while, I'm always kind of been focused on, keeping these meetings efficient and productive. And this topic, certainly, even for tonight, we've already gone over an hour. And it just seems like somewhere it's got to end with some positive result. So that's my only comment.
Okay, and I just want to add one thing. Thank you, Lou. And I want to say, Lou, I had shoulder surgery and I'm right-handed, couldn't move my arm for 2 months. And I learned how to do voice stuff, but it sucks. Okay,
That's where I am now after having the surgery yesterday and checking out of Marin General just a few hours ago. So I'm gonna have to do that.
Well, the bad news is for mine, the surgery failed.
I
But
think this is on.
no, okay. So I just want to add one thing I would throw out there to Michelle and Joe is I know you're having this special meeting on February 23rd. Is there any, why not just throw something on there about a quick discussion on the dues to start the ball rolling? And, you heard from our members, and Larry Chu, Commissioner Chu, has quite a bit of experience with finance. He could certainly help Jason with the math problem, but at least throw it out there at the February 23rd meeting that, you were at Marin LAFCo, we're really interested in hearing about the due structure and, just start a quick conversation. What do you think, Michelle?
So, yes, we are a private entity in that, and so no, we don't have to comply with the Brown Act, for example, and the noticing requirements. But we also have our bylaws that require us to provide a certain amount of time, noticing time for all of our membership. Again, that's why we sent out the notice and the agenda well ahead of the February 23rd meeting, and I believe it's 60 days ahead of the meeting. And so the notice and the agenda has already been published, and there's not 60 days between now and then. So what I will report to my board, again, we have a board meeting on the 27th. We have a workshop, a board workshop, which is open to all the members on the 26th, and then a board meeting, which again, open to all the members. And so what I will report to my board is that there's a desire from Marin LAFCo to have the dues discussion sooner rather than later. And then, as I've been taking notes, and so I can let them know at that time.
Thank you. I think that would be helpful.
Okay, I'm going to open this up to public comments now. Seeing no one in the room, anyone online?
There's no one online.
All right, going to bring it back to the commissioners for their preference or last comments. I think that for me, I'm supportive of paying another year's of dues, but I also want to wait a month, wait until another meeting to see how your February meeting goes and get a report back on that. I think, you're kind of building the plane as you're flying it at this point. And I appreciate that. It's not difficult. That's difficult, and you're not going to have all the answers all the time. But I think getting our feedback and having Jason track this to know what our interests are really important going forward in terms of being a partner in all this. And I think we should continue to be a partner. It would be my preference. But quite honestly, if it doesn't work out in the next budget year, that some of these things are addressed, then I would probably have a different opinion a year from now. So, but anyone else?
Just echo what you just said.
Okay. Anyone online want to make a final comment, or are they in agreement of that with that? Okay. So it looks like that's our direction at this point. Bring it back in our next meeting and report on the February discussion, and then we will make a decision at that point. But
Okay.
Thank you.
thank you
again.
Michelle.
Thanks, Michelle.
Thanks. Nice meeting you.
Okay, we're going to move to the next item then, which is the executive officer reports. Jason?
Yeah, so as I always do, I'll breeze through these extremely quickly. If you want to stop me on something, raise your hand and I will stop on the item. Our budget, we continue to track under budget, but as I mentioned, we're over budget on some individual line items. One of them, and I just got the numbers for what the staff workshop is going to look like, so I need to crunch those numbers, but we might be a little over budget on the conference line item, so I might take to the budget committee discussion about how to maybe move some money around from this year's line items to cover that in a better way, and we'll report back in April on what we decide to do with that. And then finally, I just want to make a note, so it's not a shock to anybody. I've been mentioning that we're low on applications this year. We had one today, but we've only had 2 paid applications this year. That's the lowest it's been in a very, very long time. And our budget is partly built, our next year's budget is partly built off of how many applications do we get this year. So we're going to have some tough discussions coming up at the budget committee meeting, and that will then transpire into what we discussed at our April meeting. So I just want to kind of give folks a heads up. There's going to be some tough discussions about budget come next year and how we do it. I have some ideas, and I'll go over those with the budget committee, and then we'll present something to the full commission in April. Current and pending proposals, we had one application today. We have absolutely nothing waiting to be reviewed right now. I know Claire is working with some of our agencies about fixing boundaries. That's about as close as we get to any application discussion outside of what we did today. Work plan, we're continuing to do the work plan. I did move some stuff around, you'll notice, on the work plan, because I try and do that every January. I try and review, like, well, where are things at for this upcoming calendar year to help kind of set up what our budget looks like. So you saw me move some things around. There are a couple items that I kind of moved down a notch in workload. But we continue to have a very strong and aggressive workload for staff to do for the coming year. There should be plenty for us to do without any concerns.
Jason, I just want to mention the countywide police study got dropped off the work plan. I brought
Yes,
that to you.
as I noted, thank you for mentioning it to me prior to the meeting. When we were moving things around, we accidentally lost the police study. It'll get put back on there. It'll be on the April work plan. So that was just
And is
a
it-
cut and paste error that occurred there rather than anything else.
Is it possible to give us a very fast update on what's happening with the San Quentin issue?
San Quentin, we've had discussions with Ross Valley to get some answers as to some of their concerns. There are some very technical, detailed questions I gave them to understand why it's relevant to their business plan to have that. They are currently doing research and putting together the answers to my questions, and so I'm waiting for those answers to come back. And then once that does, we'll have a broader discussion about the San Quentin Village annexation into Ross Valley, because of the prison issue that kind of delayed things a little bit. So things are working. We're right now waiting for Ross Valley to answer some very detailed technical questions I gave them.
Thank you.
Yep, my pleasure. And then you have committee assignments in there. Every year, the chair of the committee or the chair of the commission is allowed to assign committees. You have the committee assignments in there, so please take a look at that. The fire study, this is the one item I'm going to stop and ask you all to answer a question that I have. We think we can get the fire study done in time for the April meeting, although, as I've mentioned earlier, the April meeting is going to be extremely heavy. It's always our longest meeting of the year. The fire study, in my mind, is an important study, but is not time sensitive. So do we want to kick the fire study and say, hey, even if you get it done in time for April, don't present it to us in April, present it to us in June, and we'll just do the fire study in June at that point? Does anyone have any objections to that?
No, I would rather, for your capacity,
Yeah.
your workload, we kick it off and you guys aren't under the gun to finish anything.
Okay.
I would agree.
Might enable us to get it earlier, though, as commissioners, to make
Yeah,
sure we have plenty of time to look at it.
Yeah,
before the
once
next
we get it done, we will send it out and we'll just have an extremely long comment period since it'll be on the June agenda. Yeah, we're not going to stop working on it. It's just a matter of whether it's on the physical agenda or not. Is what we'll do. And as soon as we have it ready for you all, we'll send it out for review.
Okay.
And then you have correspondence. We are going through our audit, so our auditor always sends a letter that you all should reply to the auditor on, not me. If you have any concerns about anything that's been going on with our books or budget keeping or any of that stuff, you need to tell our auditor so they can analyze it and review it. They're almost done with the study at this point. We sent this a while back to everybody. So get your comments in now before they finish their report up, if you have any. Hopefully you don't have any, but if you do, please get them in. And so those are all the executive officer reports. I just want to mention two other things. Don't forget you have your Form 700s that are due. For those that are in elected office, you can include us on your elected office form. Just make sure you include us in the other category of groups. And for our public seat, you need to get those in April. So, you still have time. You can file them online. It's a very easy process. If you did it last year and nothing has changed, you can just use the one from last year. It's a very simple process. And then finally, as I've already mentioned, our April meeting will be a long one. Please come prepared for a long meeting in April. Then that's all I have to. We can do that if needed.
You have a question?
Yeah, Jason, on the audit, talks about two risk areas, compensated absences, and then says we identified a significant risk on management override and internal controls. Imagine we'll get reports on those, but you know how those come, are they pro forma type of things?
I have not, they have not shared their audit with me, so I can't actually answer the questions to what the compensated absences, I kind of understand what that is because we always get that every year. They want us to do some sort of calculation that we don't do in how we control our books, because compensated absences is very important for large organizations like the county, because they use their absences as unfilled FTEs as a way to balance their budget. We are 3 people. We're not, if a seat goes empty, we're not leaving it empty for very long. We have to fill it because it's a third of our staff. So I always get very frustrated with the auditors when they kind of lump us into this big group category. So that one I kind of understand what it is. And yeah, we're going to get dinged on it every year because we're small and we just don't do what they want us to do on that, because it's not part of how our system operates. The other one, until they give me a report, I can't actually answer it.
Okay, so these could be GASB check the box type
Yeah.
of thing, yeah. Okay.
Okay. Anything else for Jason? Go ahead, Catherine.
Sorry, this is my naivete. Okay, so on page 111, and this is for my information, Spirit Parcel Project. So when we do something like this, adjusting boundaries like this, does this require surveying?
If there's an application in front of us, you will always see a map and legal description with some limited cases,
Right.
always a map. So whoever's presenting the application to us does that on our behalf.
So they're responsible?
Yes.
Thank you.
Larry, Barbara, Lou, anything for Jason on his reports?
No.
Okay. Everyone good?
One more.
Go ahead, Craig.
Just, can you let us know what's going on at Angel Island Fire Service? It seems like we've talked about it. It's kind of been quiet and
It's
seems like a state issue and
yeah, it's one of those things that we're not going to be the ones to resolve. It really is going to, I really need County Fire, Tiburon Fire, and the city of Tiburon to all want to push it. And they all, every time I ask them about it, it's always, yeah. And then maybe they do a little bit of work and then it goes dead for a while until I ask a question again. So it's something that they all want to see done, but they've got so many other things on their plate that it's not a high priority. And so I just haven't made it a high priority for us for that reason. But it's on our thing. If we ever can get everyone at the table at the same time and get everyone to figure out how to solve it, great. But it's not an easy thing to solve. And I think some of them kind of feel like it's not going to be solved while they're in their job. So, because it's such a hard thing to solve. So it kind of just gets pushed to the side whenever I ask about it.
would the state be an applicant and okay, would they? drive it
No,
or-
the state's not the applicant because someone needs to provide fire services at the local level. And so it's a question of, if we take it out of CSA and put it into Tiburon, which is what you ideally would want to do, Tiburon Fire, because it's a state-owned, it's a state parcel, it has 0 property tax. So who's paying for fire services. They can't provide fire services for free. And so they need someone to pay them. And it's like this circular thing that occurs. If the town of Tiburon ever detached it from their area, it becomes county. You could have a slightly different discussion, but the town of Tiburon hasn't gone through the process of detaching it. So they continue to maintain it because that then means it's a local fire area rather than a state responsible fire area. There's like all these little technical things that need to occur, and getting everyone on the same page is just way too hard to do.
Okay, thank you.
I have one question.
Barbara, go ahead.
Any updates on the Belvedere Tiburon potential
I'm trying to get a meeting scheduled, or I have a meeting. No, I think I'm still trying to get a meeting scheduled with the city of Belvedere. They had some very serious internal discussions they needed to have. I got an email from them earlier this week saying we finally had those discussions. We're now ready to sit down and have more discussions, and so that should be picking up again. We were waiting for them to finish their discussions internally.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
And just, there's no public in the audience or online. So we're going to move on to commissioner announcements and requests. Any commissioner announcements and requests tonight? Seeing none. So I'm going to deem this meeting adjourned till the April 9th meeting. We will see you all then.